Hey, everybody, we are live. I want to thank everybody for joining me all week long regarding all things Oakland and, in particular, Howard Terminal. It is my dearest pleasure to introduce my longtime friend, man, I think should be the next mayor of Oakland, Ignacio de la Fuente. Uh, how you doing, boss? As I call Elihu, since I work for Elihu and you were a council member and council president. But how are you today?
I'm doing okay, my friend. How about you? Thank you for having me.
Hey, gotta have you, definitely. Uh, hey, let's open up with something that I was talking off camera about it, but it's still horrifying to me I have a video up where I was actually watching council and I heard the clerk say there was a shooting. And it was as if it happened right inside Oakland City Hall. I never heard that before in all my decades associated with Oakland. Fortunately, that didn't happen, but it was close by and right outside what would have been my window on the 11th floor had I still had that office. What did you think about the shooting that occurred just in City Hall Plaza, but really off at 14th and Broadway?
Zini shocked, but not surprised. I mean, I think that unfortunately, we've been watching, we've been living it, right? That in Oakland at this time, I believe that we have created that type of environment where people, not only don't care, but people think that they can do whatever they want to do in Oakland versus any other cities. I mean, this is again shocking but not surprising. And what is surprising to me is that almost on the same day, the council was voting no on the license plate readers, for example. Here we are, with crime escalating to a point where we have not seen before. And you have a majority of a city council that's still in La La Land. They still don't get it. That we must do, not just talk about it, but do something about it. And the fastest thing that we can do is providing the tools for law enforcement to do their job, to maximize our chances to prevent and protect our citizens. But unfortunately, we're missing the point, my friend, unfortunately.
Why do you think we've I don't know if evolve is the right way, Ignacio, but why do you think we've come to a point in Oakland's history where we have a government that doesn't seem to want to fix its problems, which is unusual for us?
The reality is that at this moment in Oakland, I mean, we have very nice individuals with good intentions, but totally inexperienced and totally have, for some reason, they don't see the repercussions of some of the policies that they enact or some of the policies that they create. For example, right, the no chase policy, for example. Oakland is probably the only city or one of the few cities they have that. The police cannot chase, the police cannot follow individuals who commit crimes. Secondly, we have created again that environment that we are so progressive, and so we don't like to enforce some of the basic rules that we have. And again, this is the result, right? I mean, we're seeing the results of those policies. Nobody has to tell us about it. We're watching it every single day. So we have to change. We have to go back to the basics of understanding that the local government is just that, is the basic responsibilities is to protect life and property, and everything else should be second. But unfortunately, that's not the case at this point.
Well, with former Oakland City Council President Ignacio de la Fuente and person that I believe should be our next mayor of Oakland. And Ignacio, what types of actions will you take should you become mayor?
Look, immediately we have to raise the number of police officers, but we know that is easier said than done. We know that it takes more than a year to get an academy, go through and get those officers on the ground. So we have to do different things. And I think there's ways that you can attract and you can use lateral transfer, you can hire cops from other jurisdictions. But you tell me if any police officers anywhere will right now will be willing to come to Oakland. The answer is no. we have to create an environment. It's got to be a mayor. It's got to be a city government that recognize the challenges that we have, that recognize the problems that we have, that support the police to do their job constitutionally, right? All of us know that we have to do a job different than that we have done before, that we have to do our job. And especially right now when we are really in a crisis, we have to take actions that are comparable, to protect our citizens. I was in a Zoom Monday, Zini. I was in a Zoom with FIEs. They call themselves Family in Action now. Used to be OCO. You remember?
Oh yeah, Ken
OCO.
Chambers, absolutely.
It was more than 200 people on that Zoom call, and it pains me that you get people literally crying about the fact that they, to take the kid to school, they have to go through this gauntlets of huge encampments and people that are doing things that they should not be doing while you walk your children to school. It's just not acceptable, and those families were really crying out for someone to do something about it. That's why I'm running for mayor, because I think that back to the basics, back to enforce the laws that we have, back to care about Oakland residents, not about anybody else, and really show that we are not going to tolerate the things that are happening in Oakland, right? So,
yeah. What about something I've been talking about with a number of people of late, in that the people who are homeless get crumbs if they get assistance. They don't get the money they need to actually turn around their lot. Because I heard earlier this week someone said, well, we're getting $500 till we have an experimental program. And I'm thinking, well, we don't need an experimental program. And those folks, why not? We can afford to give them $10,000 per family person, right? The situation is that bad. So why don't we do it? Why we seem content on giving them a crumb and then hoping that maybe lightning will strike and everything will change for them, when in point of fact that doesn't happen? What's going on?
You're absolutely correct, Zini. I don't know you heard or saw the city auditors, not us, not me, not you, but the city auditors report on $69 million that the city has spent last year in homeless services, and the audit reflects that was no improvement whatsoever. $69 million. But that's what's happening in Oakland, Zini. The reality is that we just throw money at the problem and nobody cares about the results.
Oh, yeah.
Right. $69 million and we have nothing to show for. That's absolutely unacceptable. But that's what's happening, right? Because nobody is in charge. Nobody wants to be in charge. The city of Oakland charter, right? It's not a super strong mayor, but it is a strong mayor from a government, right? So the mayor is at this point is the highest ranking elected official with the responsibility of showing us that something is happening. Unfortunately, as we know, it's not happening, right? And we continue spending money, we continue incredible amount of resources, and we have created, again, this environment that homelessness. How about the residents? How about the streets of Oakland that the people are, it's like so concerned, right? There is encampments and trash and all over the city. So if we cannot take care of the little things, obviously, that's the reason why we cannot take care of the big things. And I think that's what our citizens are facing. I'm going back to the basics, going back to make people accountable, going back to make sure they spend our resources the right way and prioritize the things that we do in order for us to have results, right?
Yep.
Otherwise, it will not happen.
What on that note, the other problem we have is there are people who, and it's a debate, believe that we should allow concealed carry. I think we talked about this before, but particularly in light of what happened in City Hall, what should we do in that regard? How do you talk to the Derek Sues of the world and Seneca Scotts of the world who say, hey, it's really dangerous out here and I need to be able to have permission to carry a gun?
I don't believe that's the answer. I believe the answer is, again, back to sound like a broken record, but it's a reality. Back to local government. With our responsibility is to protect our business and protect our citizens. We should not allow the thing to develop that people have to carry weapons to protect on their own. Right? It's our job to do that. And if we provide the police, if we increase the number of police officers, if we provide them the tools. I'm talking about technology. I'm talking about license plate readers and cameras and drones and you name it. We provide them those instruments, and we give them the support that they need to do their job properly. That's the answer. To me, that's what it takes. We want them on the street. We want them to respond to the calls when they're called. We want them to be as aggressive as they can be within the law to fight back, to fight crime. And to me, that's the answer, not the other. I think that's our responsibility, and that's what I will do. I met with all those police officers last week. I assured them that I'm running for mayor to not only to give them the tools, but to back them to do their job, and I'm one of the men for them to do their job. Zini, to me, that's what the mayor's job is, to make sure that the public knows, that the mayor is requesting, demanding, supporting the police officers to do their job. And that's exactly what I'm going to do in the first day in office.
Hey, let's shift gears and talk about Howard Terminal, because I heard, and I've said this before, I'll say it again, the most horrifyingly bad presentation I've ever heard an Oakland City official give regarding a development project, and that was Oakland City Administrator Ed Resk, and a friend. I like Ed personally a lot, but as you know, and I know, we've talked about ad nauseum, this is an emergency situation for Oakland, and we can't, just be nice because we're friends. We've got all reach down and pull together. What do you think about the fact that on the 20th of September, when a development agreement was supposed to be there, which means the construction drawings are supposed to be ready, there are no construction drawings. They're not ready. They're woefully behind schedule. We're looking at another year. Really, arguably, if you start looking at it without blinders, 2 years before we really get off the ground with this thing.
To me, that's what happens with actually sometimes nobody's in charge, right? I mean, different people. You and I know this. Sometimes if you don't show that you're serious, very serious about a project, you and I know that projects need champions to really make it happen, and for the private sector, for the A's.
Well said. Sorry.
Yeah, but if there's no one carrying the ball to the end zones, things don't happen.
Right.
And then you can blame many different people. Many people are different involved, from city administrators to assistant city administrators to many people. To me, you have to show. To me, you show that you care about a project when someone is in charge, or someone from beginning to end, right? So, and that's not what is happening, unfortunately. So I think you're right. I think that unfortunately at this point, and I don't know if this thing is going to happen before the end of the year, because again, when we're not ready to provide even the basic information that it takes to get a draft, to get an MOU in place, to get an actual agreement, you and I know that unfortunately the results, issues like that are not something that we will like at the end. So.
If Howard Terminal, if it comes to the point where you're elected mayor, what will you do with Howard Terminal?
Actually, I did my homework the last couple of years. I met with the port several times. I know the Howard Terminal is proper for this because it's 53 acres, 56 acres of land. And they actually have been kind of a storage for a long time anyways. They're really not being used as a shipping container terminal. That's the reason why the port, I think, there is support of that, because it's not needed for our maritime purposes. And they made that clear. I think the ball is in our court. The ball is in the city's court, and unfortunately, we're not moving that ball as fast as we should move it for whatever reasons. And at the end, we'll see who will be responsible for what happened, right?
Yeah, you're a big union rep. a lot of friends in the manufactured and heavy industries in Oakland. How will you address their concerns about Howard Terminal if you're mayor?
I think by showing, right, by making sure that the analysis that the port has done about egress, about shipping, about the ability to move cargo, and all of that actually is a good fit. They have managed to understand, right? I used to represent. You're right. I used to represent Gallo.
Yeah.
Gallo Winery is one of the biggest customers of the port. They ship to China. They ship wine to the biggest winery in the world. They ship wine all over the world, and they have managed to deal with the issues of delaying on their shippings and all of that. And so I think the port has done a very good job looking at how they're going to mitigate, the egress and the in and out of traffic with a ballpark and all of those issues. So I'm confident that industry, the manufacturing, I believe they are on board because they accept the fact that we can mitigate some of the traffic and mitigate some of those issues with the ballpark.
Hey, shifting gears and going to take a more broad view based on what you've seen. You've been out and about. You've had a lot of parties. You've been to a lot of events. You had a friend give you a house party about a day ago, right? A few hours ago. What are you hearing? I mean, you're out there a lot. I mean, it shows in your Google Trends. People are searching about you. You're one of the leaders in search volume right now among the mayoral candidates. That means people are interested in what you're about, and also means that they're reacting to you. So what are they saying to you?
I'm jealous, Zini. I've been at house meetings with 25, 30 people, 40 people, and the tune doesn't change. We are afraid. I was up in Montclair on a house meeting with about 20, 25 people. I used to go out for a slice of pizza. I used to go down to get my laundry and all of that. Now I don't take my purse. Now I have to go with someone. Now it's absolutely incredible that every corner of Oakland, from East Oakland to West Oakland to North Oakland to Montclair, is the same issue.
Jeez.
Being robbed, burglaries, their cars, their catalytic converters, the windows of their cars like mine. I mean, it's really, really an incredible thing. I've been in Oakland 51 years of my life, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
I have never really heard the cry of so many people in every corner of the city. It used to be that we had some of those problems in the Flanders. Are you kidding me? Now it's everywhere. Why? Why? Because we have allowed it to get to these points, with Alameda, Hayward, many places definitely have an increase in crime, but not like Oakland, not like us. 40 years ago, I remember, even with Felix Mitchell, even with the gangs wars, even with the Norteños, the Sureños, they were shooting each other.
Right.
They were not shooting private residents. They were not shooting children. They were not hurting the private citizens. Now it's off the hook. And I think that is the results, Zinni, of, in my opinion, of the policies of this council and the attitude towards the police and defunding the police and that attitude towards crime. It's like we care more about the people that commit the crimes than the victims. We care more about the homeless than the people that have paid taxes and live in the city for all their lives. Businesses cannot function. I go to Fruitville or I go to Chinatown, and at 4 o'clock nowadays, Chinatown is closed. At 5 o'clock, Fruitville is closed because they fear of staying open. I don't know if you heard this, but now you're going to know. Agape Uptown and downtown, Otaes and Fruitville robbed a couple of nights ago, both of them at the same time.
What?
This happens every single night, my friend. And unfortunately, nothing happens. We're going to change. That's the reason why I'm running, because I'm tired of what I hear. I'm tired of what people are going through. And I can tell you that we can do better. That's why I'm running, because I believe that we can do better.
Hey, Ignacio, why don't we turn off the spigot of more homeless people being made? Because this is happening because people don't have jobs or money. We have a very unusual situation because of the pandemic. But in my view, it seems like government doesn't get hey, look, around the world, we have money that's quite literally cut off to the people who need it the most. And we're not doing unusual things, right? We're just doing regular things. We're not people. Why aren't we thinking out of the box, coming out with new ideas?
But you're right about one of the biggest challenges we have is jobs, Rob, right? When I ran for office in 1992, my platform was very simple: jobs, jobs, jobs. I ran for office because we were losing all our manufacturing jobs in Oakland.
Yep.
We were losing our tax base, right?
Yep.
Well, it's continue happening now. AB&I, a company that has been in Oakland 115 years, 73rd and Saliandra Boulevard, providing hundreds of jobs for people. Okay, well, they were sued by the city, they were sued by the state, and all of that. So it's the last manufacturing company in Oakland. They announced they're closing on December 31st. 200 jobs, right? People that look like you and me.
Yep.
Most of the people that work in AB&I is black and brown. People that have good paying union jobs. Well, now it's going to be an additional 200 people out of a job. So, in Oakland, and unfortunately, we have lost, a diversity of jobs for the diversity of people that we have in Oakland.
Yep.
We have to be honest with ourselves, right? Not all of us are computer programmers. Not all of us are doctors or lawyers. So we need, and that's where the lack of understanding of this council and this mayor.
Yep.
We need the diversity of jobs for the diversity of the population that we have in Oakland. And if we don't have them, then that's when you have not only unemployed, but you will have homeless people on the streets, right? But and we're talking about bringing jobs back, how about retaining what we have? How about really figuring out a way to be business friendly and instead of being obstructionists, and that's the reason why we're losing our tax base, not businesses. The cannabis industry is a good example, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oakland could have been the center of the cannabis industry because of the millions of dollars that they pay in taxes, right?
Yep.
But here we go.
Yep.
The highest taxes for the industry. They've been robbed every single week and every single month. So they live in Oakland. They're going to Berkeley, they're going to Richmond, they're going to many other cities. And they take their tax base with them, right?
Yeah. Hey, Alistair Monroe complains that his landlord is not letting them have top-notch equipment. He's basically said they're pricing them out for the spaces. See, Alistair, I got out there for you, Alistair.
But that's what happens. I think when you are more interested in the global things, that you are more interested in everything else except the basics, right?
Mm-hmm.
The little basics the businesses got to go through every single day and every single night. So what do? We're going to raise taxes. I'm absolutely opposed to that, Zenny. I don't know. You look at a progressive tax initiative. I want you to know that I actually signed the argument on the ballot against the tax. Mm-hmm. I believe that is absolutely something that's going to hamper our ability to retain businesses, to attract businesses. They're going after Cloras, they're going after Kaiser Permanente, they're going after. Do you know that it's going to be about 760% increase if this passes? 760% increase in tax for Kaiser Permanente, for example.
That's what gets me, though. There's this assumption that this organization's rich, therefore they pay X. But the reality is, because of the pandemic, we're not out of the place where businesses need subsidies. And yet we have AB 464 signed into law by Gavin, marched through the legislature by Bobby Barra Lopez, who you know. And hey, we haven't used it. And yet it says in black and white, use tax increment financing to help businesses that have been impacted by the pandemic. It's right there in black and white, Ignacio. We haven't used it. What's wrong with subsidizing business, right? Why do we have to soak businesses all the time, large and small? I don't get it. This is ridiculous stuff. Businesses are you and me, you and I.
That's the attitude in Oakland. Unfortunately, that's the attitude of the majority of the elected officials in Oakland. For some reason, look at the just cause eviction changes, the amendments, right? Mm-hmm. Small landlords will be out of business. We have in Oakland, even against the fact that some people do not want to recognize that in City Hall. The majority of the landlords in Oakland are small landlords.
Yep.
The majority of landlords in Oakland are people that look like you and me. It's a lot of seniors, a lot of people that have a small investment and a couple of units that they own. But here we go, making it so incredibly difficult, cutting their revenues, making it more difficult for them, right? So what happens? They got to get out of the business because they losing money. They have not been able to pay their mortgage. They selling the business under the water, right? Because they cannot afford it. Yeah. So who's going to buy them? Who's going to be who's going to own all those small 2-3 units apartments? The big landlords, right? The big industry that are buying that. But that's the results of some of these policies, and they don't get it.
Nope,
right?
Not at all. And yet we can use redevelopment and the Polanco Act to take over those homes and make sure that doesn't happen. We don't do that. I keep trying to tell Fife about that. It goes through one ear and out the other. It's like, hey, Anyway, hey, in closing, this is Hispanic Heritage Month. What does Hispanic Heritage Month mean to you?
Obviously very, very absolutely proud of my heritage. I think that the contributions of the Hispanic Latino community to the whole world, and especially in California. I mean, let's face it, California used to be part of Mexico, New Mexico, Texas, you name it. So I think our culture is injected, in all these states. And I think that there's no, only people don't want to see it, to see the contributions that the Latino Hispanic community has made, and to the culture and to the state and to all of us. I think that that's the reason why Oakland is what it is. The diversity of all of us, what we bring to the table. That's why we're different. That's why Oakland is beautiful, and is not only the diversity of everything, but the culture and also the caring of that we bring to the table. And that's what I think is what I take very dearly to my heart, my friend. But
well said.
Thank you for. Thank you for the chance of speaking with you and your audience. I think that Oakland is in trouble. All of us know that. And needs someone that really is willing to, whatever the cheese might fall. I'm gonna do the job that it takes to get the city back on track. One promise that I made to the public, that I made to you, my friend.
Thank you, sir. And hey, come back again, and we'll see you on the trail. And folks, subscribe to Zenny62. Bookmark Oakland News Now, blog.com, and Oakland News Online. Hey, Zenny62 blog is coming back. I'm got them all over the place, Ignacio. Hey, stick around in the background, Ignacio. That ends this broadcast. Actually, there's no background to stick around. That ends this broadcast. Ignacio, thank you, man. I'll see you. Okay, thank you. Okay,
have a good weekend, my friend.
You too. See ya. All right, folks, thank you for joining me. And remember to visit his website, delafuenteformayor.com. I'll be back with more NFL football news later. See ya. That ends this broadcast.